The new story trailer for Star Wars Outlaws dropped earlier today, along with the announcement that the game will release on August 30th. StarWars.com also put out a very informational interview with the game's creative director, Julian Garrity. So let's talk about the trailer, its story, and what we can expect to see in less than 5 months. Real quick, I want to set the stage for this game. It takes place in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which you can figure out when we see Han Solo frozen in carbonite at Jabba's palace. This is an excellent time period for a game about the underworld of Star Wars to take place because the underworld is in absolute chaos at this point. This is all after the events of the War of the Bounty Hunters comics, which showed Qi'ra bringing Crimson Dawn back to prominence. She steals Han's carbonite slab from Boba Fett and hosts an auction for it, which results in the slaughter of the Hutt Council except for Jabba, and generally causes war throughout the various syndicates. So that's the backdrop for Outlaws. We'll be competing for favor with a bunch of criminal groups that all hate each other even more than usual. I'm going to be referencing the comics quite a bit in this breakdown. The trailer starts with a meeting between those criminal syndicates, led by who I think will be the primary villain of the story, Sliro, who controls a syndicate called Zarek Besh on Canto Bight. They were first mentioned in the Crimson Reign comics, and then we kind of got to see them in the sequel Hidden Empire series. Their style probably hadn't been set back in 2022, so they obscured whoever is representing Zarek Besh in that frame. Sliro claims that this is a golden age for the underworld. He seems like he's trying to unite the syndicates to make more money while the Empire and the Rebellion are at each other's throats. But an interview on Ubisoft.com suggests this is more a power play on Sliro's part. I think if we get really granular with the timeline, this is probably right after the War of the Bounty Hunters comics when Qi'ra attempts to do something similar in the Crimson Reign series. She smiles and visits the syndicates individually and subtly pits them against one another. She is eventually found out in Hidden Empire, but right now I think all the syndicates are probably playing nice out in the open, but working against one another in secret. Sliro's got representatives from the Pike Syndicate, Crimson Dawn, and the Hutt Cartel gathered around his table. I don't think that's Qi'ra sitting there, just a member of her substantial team. I'm also crossing my fingers that we'll have a Black Sun representative there. Prince Xizor was mentioned in Crimson Reign, and may have appeared in Hidden Empire. I think it would be awesome to see him return to Star Wars video games nearly 30 years after Shadows of the Empire. Anyway, the general idea is that all the criminal syndicates are grasping for more power, money, and influence while the Empire is dealing with the Rebellion. Our character, Vess, will be able to use that to her advantage, but she apparently crossed Sliro somehow, and so the crime lord wants her dead. According to the StarWars.com interview, Garrity says Kay does a job for Sliro that goes wrong, and so she finds herself on the run from one of the largest bounties ever placed on anybody in the galaxy. I could see that job gone wrong being the tutorial portion that starts the game. Sliro hires a new bounty hunter character called Vale to hunt Kay, who we see in several shots. Garrity says she is going to ask herself about the situation, of Sliro's motivations, of all those things that really bring the character a dimension that we don't usually see with the sort of normal bounty hunter character trope. She reminds me of a couple Uncharted characters, but specifically Nadine Ross from Uncharted 4, who's the main villain's second in command, who eventually becomes an ally and even primary protagonist of Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Kay is approached by a man named Jaylen, who spells out the entire story for the audience. The best way for Vess to survive is to rob Sliro to buy her freedom, which I guess means making enough credits to go into hiding and retire. I think that's a cool setup because that means the entire game will build up to a heist on the scale of Ocean's 11. We'll be robbing someone on Canto Bight, which is just Las Vegas in Star Wars. The Ubisoft interview suggests we'll be breaking into Sliro's mansion, and also says Kay grew up in the workers' district of Canto Bight, so this job will probably be very personal to her. I like the idea of performing smaller jobs and heists throughout the Outer Rim on more rough and tumble worlds like Tatooine until we have enough influence and experience to take on a really flashy, high-stakes target. Zarek Besh itself sounds like a difficult challenge. Sliro is described as being incredibly wealthy, and so he's put more resources into armoring up his goons and making them more disciplined and militaristic. By the way, I think it would be cool if there were some mention or lore in the game about the Sixth Kin, another syndicate based out of Canto Bight from the Dr. Aphra comics, even if it's revealed to be a subset of Zarek Besh or something like that. As for Jaylen, Garrity describes him as a mentor to Kay, but also says he's a little bit down on his luck, but he sees an opportunity not only to teach, but to profit from his relationship with Kay. I'm getting the opposite vibe from him as I do Vale. I think he will be helpful for as long as it benefits him, and then he might turn on us. You can't have a Star Wars Underworld story without a little betrayal. It's a similar story to Tobias Beckett and Han Solo, and Garrity does claim Solo a Star Wars story as some of the inspiration for Outlaws, describing it as the coming of age of somebody who's basically a petty thief that grows up to be a real outlaw. I like that description a lot. It sounds like something fun to experience as a player. The story might wind up feeling familiar, but that's part of the fun of a video game, being able to play out that experience for ourselves instead of simply watching it happen on a screen. We see what looks like a leader of the Ashiga clan as a Mon Calamari character tells Kay that she will live or die on her reputation. Ashiga is a new syndicate created for the game, and they're based off Kajimi, but the reputation system is what I'm really excited to see in this game. We can see Kay approaching a Pike Syndicate boss before being thrown out, told she's too new to the underworld. I think it'll be cool to meet lower level members of the Hutt Cartel, for example, working our way up to earn an audience with Jabba. Garrity talks about putting the player in dilemmas with the syndicates, choosing who to work with or how you might betray one or all of them, and making sure those decisions have an impact, leaving the player with a personally different story from everybody else's. I got to interview some of the development team last year, and they did confirm there wouldn't be different endings for the game, but it's fun to know that our actions as Kay will provide a unique experience. We might all arrive at the same conclusion, but it sounds like there will be fun and different paths to get there. We can see Kay infiltrating an Imperial hangar where I think she'll be stealing her ship, the Trailblazer. It's been said that she permanently borrows the ship, and we'll probably get to steal it ourselves. It definitely seems like she's not super familiar with the vessel, messing up her seat elevation and stuff. It's kinda cool that we, the player, will get to learn about the ship along with Kay. Garrity says you can customize it visually at the very least. Kay also talks about putting together a crew. I doubt they'll be traveling around the galaxy with her on the Trailblazer, but maybe they will. It does seem like a large enough ship. The Ubisoft.com interview says Kay and Nix will need to travel across the Outer Rim to find skilled outlaws and convince them to join her in pulling off the greatest heist the galaxy has ever seen. There's a lot of fun and exciting characters that you'll meet on your journey, some of whom you will have seen in the trailer. We do see a Chadra fan and a Rodian droidsmith pulling something off of a Black Protocol droid with a blaster. I do not think that's meant to be 000, but the resemblance is striking. That Murderbot and his friend BT-1 are definitely running around the galaxy at this point, and I would be terrified to meet them. We also see a couple shots of ND5, the BX series commando droid from the Clone Wars that put on a duster and the internet went wild. He's like a sexy Frosty the Snowman who uses a trench coat instead of a magic top hat. We don't learn much more about him, but he can definitely hold his own against Vale. She has a line that suggests there is more to Vess's story, which, good. I don't want to know the full story yet. This trailer seems like it's about giving us just enough details to set the stage. The rest of the trailer is mostly a bunch of action shots showing off some of the planets and locations. I want to highlight what I think is Akiva, only because it's a planet that was introduced in the Aftermath books nearly 10 years ago at this point, and I'm excited to see it on screen. We see a lot of wildlife and creatures, proving that criminal syndicates won't be the only enemies Kay has to worry about. Obviously, this trailer is story-focused, but I think I'm most excited to go exploring. This is an open-world game, so we will have free reign to look around, to wander the Dune Sea and nearly fall into a Sarlacc pit or be eaten by a crate dragon. I look forward to accidentally stumbling into danger like that. We also see a couple shots of Death Troopers, Imperial Walkers, and TIE Fighters, because obviously the Empire will be a thorn in our sides too. From the gameplay trailer, it looks like they will be like the police in the Grand Theft Auto series, giving us a wanted level and chasing us around if we look at them the wrong way. The TIE Fighter chase looks like it's probably on Kajimi, but it also kinda reminds me of Han Solo's Kessel Run. We know there are space segments in the game, the Pikes are involved, and if you're gonna tell the story of an outlaw, it would be pretty rad to be able to try out the Kessel Run for yourself. The trailer even shows some Kessel Runner cosmetics for the Trailblazer and the Speeder. The description for the video mentions a season pass for the game. I don't play a ton of games that come with season passes, or if I do, I don't purchase them, but I know enough to know that that means there will be more content for Outlaws coming after the release date. I would guess that's in the form of cosmetics, but maybe there could be additional missions or something. I don't know. I'm not the person to ask about that. But that's everything I've got for my breakdown of Outlaws. The game comes out on August 30th, and I'm excited to play it. Let me know what you thought of the trailer in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.